Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. This is for August 22nd. We're almost done summer. I just don't know how that happened. In any case, thank you very, very much for being here. To my new subscribers, thank you so much for being here. All the thumbs up, the comments, I love them all. Thank you to my established subscribers for just continuing to support this channel in the most wonderful ways. I'm very, very grateful for that. Okay, so I thought maybe what I would do today is just sort of take a look at the next, couple of weeks and see what they have in store for us. There's a lot going on. So by the end of this week, everybody is supposed to have made their way to Georgia to be arraigned, I think is the phrase. So that's interesting. I just saw that Trump agreed to a $200,000 bond and other, conditions, but we don't know what those are. But there's definitely, a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of energy in the air. And I just thought we would take a peek and see what was going on. Also, early next week, is when we go back to Judge Chutkan's court, and I guess that's just sort of settle out a trial date. So, I somehow don't think that what was it they were asking for, like November or April of 2026? Crazy. So I just thought I would sort of just almost like ask the universe what it wants to tell us. I suspect, even though I'm playing with my cards, I suspect that most of this will be channeled. But let's just get started and see what comes out, shall we? So one of the first questions I have is whether or not Mark Meadows is going to be successful at getting the case against him out of Georgia thrown out. Because he's saying everything he did as a member of the White House, and so therefore, Spirit, you want us to know at this time as we move through to the end of the month of August. Okay, so Mark Meadows is not going to be successful at getting the whole thing tossed out. Is it going to stay in Georgia? What I'm getting is there's a better chance of it staying in Georgia than not. But at this point, the energies are not completely ruling out that it'll get shifted. I mean, let me correct that. It's going to stay in Georgia, but whether it gets shifted to the federal court in Georgia versus the state court in Georgia, either way, the case does not leave Bonnie Willis's hands or control. And so, I don't know. I guess we'll see how that plays out. How's Trump doing? How's Trump doing? How's Trump doing? How's Trump doing? Four Swords. And a lot of worry and anxiety. This is what he is worried and anxious about. He's worried that he's not going to be able to create the same sort of environment that got him elected in 2016. So he sort of is trying to hold on to this hope, but it really worries him because the writing is on the wall, for goodness sakes, right? I mean, even Republicans are saying if he runs against Joe Biden, Joe gets the White House. So, there's a recognition that this situation with him is going to go from bad to worse. He's hearing it from other people. He doesn't want to believe it, but he has an awareness that this is not good. He's going to continue to lose support, whether that is support from like donors, big donors who apparently are still, kind of hands off. And even some Republicans who don't love Trump are kind of likely to take well, I don't want Joe, I don't want Trump, kind of, I'm not going to vote. That's sort of the energy I'm getting right now. He's really concerned because there, frankly, are more secrets that have maybe not been made public, but that are known. And he's really scared of sort of that harsh judgment coming down from the courts. His lawyers have started to take a much firmer hand with him, which is how come on Monday there was no press conference with irrefutable evidence that, he really won the election. Him staying on that little soapbox, it feels like it's going to make the soapbox like more unbalanced. They're actually showing me kind of a funny picture. If you remember, like an apple crate, and they were kind of made of that thin sort of plywood. They show me standing on it, him standing on it, and one end kind of collapses, right? The boards splinter and break off. It's not going to work for him because aside from the few people, a few million people, who really do believe that Joe Biden should not be president and, Trump should be president, and a whole bunch of them who think he is president and he's running like a shadow pregnancy at a Mar-a-Lago. Oh my God. Any case, everybody else recognizes that this is just a ridiculous nonsense story, completely made up. You have people like Rudy Giuliani admitting that, yeah, I lied. I just made it up out of, air. So that's not going to serve him very well. It feels like the lawyers are trying to pull him back. And first of all, saying, listen, buddy, you got to stop attacking everybody because this New York judge is not going to put up with your crap. Like, she really will set a trial date that is much, much earlier than you want. That's going to happen anyways, because he really doesn't want one until like after the next election. And then, of course, he wants to win the election so he can just make it all go away. But that's not going to happen. And she is very likely, I'm not getting January 2nd, but I'm definitely getting by the middle of February, this thing's going to court. So for right now, it looks like the defense is going to get nothing they want in terms of the date. And the prosecutors are going to get very close to what they want. I can tell you that there's going to be some significant debate now about whether or not cameras go into the courtroom. And this is why. And they're reminding me of the O.J. Simpson trial, which was a really long time ago. And Cato. Remember Cato, the guy with the blonde kind of messy hair, and he was like hanging out in the guest house? He became like this sort of overnight like sensation when he was on the stand. And all of a sudden his life sort of went crazy on him because there was this flood of attention coming at him. The concern is that that kind of behavior could happen again with witnesses, and it could scare off witnesses, or it could make them kind of be reluctant on the stand, even though of course they're going to tell the truth. But can say things in ways so that they come across one way or another way, right? So there's that kind of a concern. The jurors are the jurors. They're going to be protected because they don't appear on camera. But it definitely feels like there is a concern about this thing just turning into a circus, and that is being weighed against the public's right to know. So that feels like there's going to be some ongoing discussions and conversations about what that looks like, whether it goes ahead or not goes ahead. But right now it's on the table, but it feels like there are sort of valid points or equally strong points on both sides. So that's where that is sitting right now. They're telling me that it looks like Mitch McConnell is going to have another kind of health scare in the not too distant future. I want to say probably within the next month or so. Um, you know, his health is continuing to deteriorate. He would have been so much smarter if he would have just retired, except and not gone for the last go around. Because now, of course, he has people in Kentucky booing at him. His health is definitely sort of in a precarious position from what I can see energetically. And instead of going out on a high where he sort of had flooded the courts and, he got all of that right wing stuff done, now he's fighting a party that is literally crumbling around him. And he's recognizing that he has actually less and less power. And again, he made the wrong choice. Right? I mean, what is it with this guy? He made the decision to shove all these right wing judges into the Supreme Court, turn back Roe, which is causing a tsunami of angry people. He had two opportunities to get an idiot president out of office. Like, not only was this guy not intellectually up for the job, he wasn't emotionally or mentally up for the job. And they all made the mistake of assuming that they were going to somehow control him and corral him. You would think by the time they got to those ages in their careers, they would have a better ability to read people, but apparently not. So he didn't deal with it. When he got the nomination, he made the wrong choices with the Supreme Court. Now he made two wrong choices with the impeachment. He could have simply impeached him. That would have prevented him from ever going back into office, and the nonsense would have stopped. But no, he chose not to do that, and now he is suffering sort of the consequences of that. The consequences of that is the extreme right sort of mega politicians are running roughshod over traditional Republican ideas, values, policies, whatever it is. So he's going to continue sort of going down this a little bit of a bumpy road for him. They're telling me that there are names on under that 30 unindicted people in the Bonnie Willis's indictments. And they're saying that there is, like, they're showing me Lindsey Graham, they're showing me Ted Cruz for some reason. I don't know what this guy's name is. He's tall. He always stands just slightly in the background when they do things around the podium. But they're showing me several people who are in government who are there. But for some reason, there seems to be, I think they're waiting to see how things start to unfold with the 18, or I guess 19 defendants they currently have. What I'm getting is it's not clear that they are or are not going to charge those people. It feels as if it's a strategic decision, and they can't make it until things are a little more clear in terms of how this case itself is going forward. Clarence Thomas is going to continue to get into trouble. It looks like there's going to be some more stuff coming out. What a surprise. You can't be that corrupt for that long without, at some point, things kind of blowing up a little bit. So there's still that. And I'm just confirming, is Clarence Thomas likely to retire from the bench, in some way to protect his wife or additional financial scandals? Yeah, it looks like he's still going. They're not giving me a very clear timeline on this, but they're definitely showing me that he's going to depart the Supreme Court at some point. This thing with Hunter Biden is really about it's about two things. One, it's about sort of trying to get Joe at any cost in any way. But more, it's about muddying the water right now and keeping those kinds of crazy conversations going, because they are distracting from the fact that the Republicans have no policy. Trump has vowed to be on a revenge tour. He has 91 charges against him right now, over 4 indictments. I mean, they're doing whatever they can, dressing up in clown suits and tap dancing on the top of a car to just distract people from the actual reality of what's going on. And I don't actually see that working. I think ultimately, Joe Biden may very well get a little bit more than a slap on the wrist, which again is not, if they're going to go after Hunter Biden, sorry, did I say Joe Biden and Hunter Biden? They need to also go after Jared and Ivanka. So now they're telling me that there's actually investigations going on about them, and it may not end up serving them particularly well. So it looks like there's trouble coming down the line for Jared and Ivanka. Ron Jr. appears to be almost like careening out of control. So you're going to see, more of these like clips from where he was talking to somebody or doing something or doing an interview, and he sounds a little like deranged. He's just going to continue to spiral because there's just sort of a recognition that he can't really help his dad, and honestly, it feels like he's like rudderless, like without his dad sort of kind of telling him step by step what is expected of him and what he should do. He's just not coping very well. And Kimberly, his fiance there, is not helping. She knows better, frankly. She does have a law degree, but she's just, I don't know, for some reason, her energy with his, on the one hand, it acts as a stabilizer, and on the other hand, it seems to unbalance him. Like he can't quite sort of settle into a space where he can hold himself like together. So you could expect more of a bleak show from those guys. I want to know, Spirit, if overall, as the Trump court cases start to move forward and unfold, are there going to be any like real significant, riots in the streets? Or is there going to be a significant like pushback from really staunch Trump supporters? I'm hearing a very, very clear no. There might be some little ones here and there. You may very well hear about another lone, what is that called, a lone wolf, that, just gets it in his head he needs to do something crazy. It doesn't feel like We're looking at any sort of significant like loss of life, which is a good thing. And the thing is, at this point, you know, the sheriffs, the police, the whoever else, they're so used to Trump and his antics and his supporters and the way they behave that they really are so much better prepared now than they definitely were when he was in office and trying to overturn the government. So that feels like it's not going to be quite as scary or dangerous a situation. What else, Spirit? Is there anything else you would like to share with us? Yeah, you're going to continue to see sort of this increase of people um, quietly, maybe, making their views known about, Trump is hampering their ability to, take back the White House. In fact, Trump is hampering their ability to take back the Senate, hold the House. I mean, they're really the older politicians, the ones who have been in the game for a while. They know how dangerous this is, but they lost their spine somewhere around 2016, and they haven't found it. And so they're going to say quiet things. They're going to make the odd statement here and there about, there's like, it's a hindrance, not a help, that kind of thing. But nobody's prepared to jump out. Okay, can you tell me about the upcoming debates? I think they're sometimes this week. I think I don't know if they're on Tuesday. Anyway, I'm recording this obviously on Monday, so if they're scheduled for tonight, but I don't think so. I think they're Wednesday. In any case, can you tell me about the Republican debates and what that's going to look like? Okay, so we definitely know that Trump is not going to attend, mostly because he's really scared of Chris Christie, like really afraid, because Chris Christie's mean to him and he doesn't treat him very nice, and he doesn't have any answers. So yeah, so that's his deal. Um, it looks like they're telling me that it's like two or three really may end up dropping out shortly after the debate, just because they're not getting the traction, and for whatever reason, it feels like they're not going to have an amazing debate. They're not showing me who it is, but they're saying there's like two or three kind of at the very bottom of the list are not going to be around for much longer. What's the story with Pence? Well, he's going to keep on telling his truth. It would have been nice had he told his truth, you know, before there was an insurrection. But this is the thing. It's sort of falling on deaf ears, and the problem is not just that you have really, staunch Trump supporters. The other part of the problem is, quite realistically, that he's spineless. Okay, and so when Republicans are looking at him and they're going, well, he couldn't stand up to Trump, right? Um, it's taken him 2 years to get around, 2 or 3 years, I guess 2.5, to get around to kind of saying, yeah, you know what, I couldn't do what he was asking me to do. There was no way, it would be completely illegal. So people are looking at him and saying he's not strong. Um, he doesn't present an air of sort of confidence and being in control. And that's not going to sit well with people. So even people who don't want Trump are not going to be too thrilled with him. And he's sort of tainted, if you will, by such a close association with Trump. They're saying Rudy Giuliani is going to go down, and he's going to go down hard. Um, it's almost as if he almost cannot comprehend how much stuff is coming at him, and right now he's sort of so desperate that he's doing or saying whatever he thinks might or might not help him. He's not in a good place, and definitely he doesn't even understand almost the magnitude of how much trouble he is in. There's a lot of lawyers around this that are going to lose their law licenses. And frankly, when you show that you have zero moral compass, when you show that you have such a strong disregard for the law, you should lose your license. I mean, really. Okay, anything else? And the final message that they want to put out there is remember to keep your emotions stable, okay? A lot of us have waited for a really long time for the things that are starting to kind of unfold, okay? But it's important that you keep your mind at a higher vibration. It's tempting and it's easy to kind of sink down to that level of, I want them all thrown in the dungeon. um, and try to balance that with the fact that lower vibrational energy, when you're thinking it, when you're reacting to it, is impacting all of the energy around you. So you're actually bringing your vibration down. So they want you to be this. What they're saying is, listen, there is a long road ahead. This is not going to be resolved by the end of 2024. It's not going to be resolved by the end of 25 or possibly 26. Like, this is going to go on. Even when there's a verdict, there's going to be appeals. There's going to be this. There's going to be that. It's really important that you stay emotionally sort of level about this. If you can't not be sort of really forceful in your belief that they should all be sent to the dungeon, Spirit is suggesting that you just try maybe to be benign about it as a first step. Listen, you guys aren't going to be dancing and jumping in the streets and saying, oh my God, these poor souls, let's just save them all. And they did nothing wrong. They were led astray. That's not what they're saying, but they're saying this is a road and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so you need to make sure that you are doing what you can do to keep your emotions at more of an even keel. I know that is the perfect energy. Know that the more, instead of focusing on what Trump or whoever else and how much trouble they're in and how terrible things are going to be, they want you to focus on the more positive aspects. They want you to think about Joe Biden's second term. They want you to think about, the things that he's going to be able to implement with that second term, whether it is finally sorting out, your Social Security and Medicare stuff, and there's so much, and voting rights. There's a lot of stuff that he's going to be able to deal with in that second term. And so it's really important that that's where your energy flows. It flows to sending him powerful, positive energy, knowing and trusting that he is going to right the ship, as it were. But do not forget that energetically, overall, this is a time of tearing down to rebuild. And so part of what needs to be torn down is that sort of jump, kind of, I don't know, like an eye for an eye kind of energy. There's just a need to sort of pull back a little bit. And I know some of you don't want to hear that. And some of you are spitting mad at what happened to your country. And I'm not arguing or disagreeing with you, but I am saying for your own benefit and for the overall energy of the country, the more you can stay in a calm or positive energetic space is just far, far better. All right. Thank you very, very much for being here. I'm so grateful to all of you. And until next time, take care, be well, and we'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.